Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time out to spend time with Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. Today, everybody, we have the entire cast pretty much and crew and production for the movie Making Monsters, a movie that I am very fond of, enjoyed the hell out of. And I'm very excited today to have everyone here talk about the movie. So whether you've seen it or not, you'll enjoy it. We'll save some of the spoilers for the end because got to try to be fair as best we can. So, but if you guys could, please introduce yourselves and what you did in the movie.
I'm Justin. I'm the writer and director, co-director of Making Monsters.
I'm Alana. I was an actress in the film.
I'm Rob. I'm one of the co-directors of the film.
Who's going next? I'll go next. I'm Dale Andrews. I'm the executive producer for the film.
I'm Tim Loden, and I played Chris in the film.
And I'm Jonathan Craig. I was an actor, and I did some makeup, and we shot it in my house, which is where we are right now.
Which is an awesome house. Very jealous of that house. I don't know if I'd want to do everything in that house, but we'll see. We'll find out what you may have done or not.
I do lots of things in here. We'll tell you what they are.
Murder? Just kidding.
We dabble.
We dabble. So first off, I guess we should probably start where it all began. Like, how did this concept come up between, because I know, Justin, you wrote and directed this with Rob. And that's always a weird dynamic when it comes to movies, you know, because there's always that push and pull, you know. So I'd like to hear what you guys, how this came about and your working director relationship.
Well, Rob and I have been working together for years in the television world. We have a company together, the Boca Collective, and we do a ton of TV commercials. And we've been picking away at short films for many years. And Dale's been producing our films with us as an executive producer, and we've just been doing it on the side of our normal production work. And when we discovered a little bit of success in the festival circuit, and some of these films did pretty well. And there was just a moment where it's like, we just have to make a feature now. And like, let's not wait any longer. Let's just use our own resources and make something. And we were in that mind space while we were festivaling, you know, with these shorts. And then Jonathan moved into this beautiful church that he lives in, and he moved in and he called me one day and said, like, I moved into this church. It's like really amazing. And he sent me some pictures, and he said, you should make a movie here. And that's what really was the creative spark at the beginning that kicked off the whole idea of this film in particular. And then, you know, Rob and I and the team just started brainstorming ideas, like, what can we do at this church? And John, you know, lives there, and he's a makeup artist, and he sculpts these amazing monsters. And he is the guy that makes monsters, and he's converted this church into like a prosthetic monster making studio. The whole thing is worthy of a film setting. And so that was the spark of inspiration at the very beginning that led to the story. And then it was about Rob and I kind of figuring out, you know, with Dale, like, how can we use our resources, because we are production people in television and commercials, like, how can we use our company's resources to kind of produce something that's made by true film lovers without overthinking it, without having to work for somebody else. You know, Dale was able to put the financing together, and it was all very much within our own family. So we had a lot of creative freedom, which led to this bizarre movie.
Which you guys did a Cookie, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, Cookie. And then we did this film Latched, and a few others after that.
Which there's an Easter egg in the movie if you guys catch it, but you'll have to see it.
There's an Easter egg for Cookie and for Latched.
Oh, is there? Okay. I didn't catch the other one.
The breast milk monster fairy. He's in there as well.
He's just an Easter egg on his own.
So Rob, Justin, and Dale all worked on that one as well, and Alana, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
In Cookie and in Latched, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Justin has a knack for casting family members, including his own child in some of our films. You know.
Yeah, just look around. Like, you guys want to make a movie? Let's just make a movie.
Yeah, what do you want to make a movie? Jonathan, let's do it.
Like, John, you want to be in the movie? You can be in the movie.
So about this concept, about this YouTuber being famous and like pushing the limits, I mean, is there anybody in particular on YouTube that maybe might have inspired those thoughts at all, or is it just the overall thing of YouTube?
Yeah, well, there's a bunch, like I started obsessively watching a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk and Casey Neistat.
Okay.
Some of these guys that really made a real living off of it and built, empires off of YouTube, and we're doing TED Talks, and I just became obsessed with that world a little bit.
It is
And
pretty interesting, yeah.
and then people who were doing pranks, and then there was one YouTuber I was watching that was doing pranks with his family that were really dangerous, and I just thought, like, oh my gosh, this person's exploiting their family to make entertainment that's like so weird and scary, and it's so meta, because here we are as a film family exploiting ourselves to make stuff, and it all was just like, oh my gosh, this movie needs to be a conversation about how creators create and why people want this type of content, and let's try to make it good along the way.
Right. So is this kind of like a warning to those types, maybe?
I think it's 100% a after school special warning. People, be careful who you exploit in your life. Because the movie really,
Things you should know.
It's really about a relationship that's like not great. I mean, like, and Alana and I, we've made movies together. We've been together for 20 years, so we've made projects our whole lives together. And there is these thoughts in my mind where it's like, oh my gosh, like how far can we go? Like push each other. It's just an interesting subject. It just always was interesting to me.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. You get a couple interesting dynamics here. You got two co-directors. You got literal wives are acting in roles of with other guys too, even, which might be kind of controversial for some people, but not really when you're a professional, right? So, how was that working with you two, like Tim and Alana, or even Justin too, of course?
Go, Tim.
Well, you guys want to jump in there? I mean, Tim.
Yeah, like how did that start, by the way, too? Yeah.
Well, why don't you say how we found Tim, and then we can talk about.
Well, because I knew we wanted to make the movie. I knew I wrote it for Alana and for John, and then we needed like a real actor, like somebody like Alana's a professional dancer, John's like a makeup sculptor. Like no one's an actor. Not really. We are. I mean, now we're seeing like different opportunities arise out of this, but we need a real actor who can help like elevate everyone, and bring some experience to the table. And we so Tim, Tim's role, that role of Chris, was the only role that we put a casting call out for. And Tim's audition came in late, and it was unbelievable. And Tim, you're all trimmed up now, but you had this beautiful long mane of hair, and I'm like, this golden god audition that just rolled in.
Luscious locks. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how we discovered Tim.
Okay. And Tim, how did you hear about this, and how did you perceive the actual script that you read?
I heard about it, I guess, the old-fashioned way when I had my agent there in Toronto sent me the breakdown for the role, and then I didn't have the script at the time, just the scenes, and I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was a real voice for the character, and that they're really trying to make something that a point of view worth making, I guess. And I was really interested in it, and thank God they watched my tape. I sent it in late, and I know I was the only actor, but I felt so fortunate and grateful, like with these two on screen, because they were really wonderful and lovely to spar with. So I was an extremely good time working on it with Alana and John, and they are actors. They're clearly actors. They're terrific. So it was really fun.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I was blown away to find out that this was like some of the early work. So when I was going through IMDb, I was like, wait, what? Really? And then Dale told me, he was like, this is Jonathan's first time as a feature film, because I think you were in one of the shorts as well, weren't you? Or...
No, I was just in a bunch of like things, because like what happens is, as I was a camera guy for a long time, that's how I know Justin. We did a cop show called Campus PD about 10 years ago now, Justin.
It was 10 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, so we spent a lot of time on the road, like being cops, and I saw him, progress in the horror, and I've always been into it as a special effects makeup artist, so I've always had these two things, and so that's what really was. And so, when my friends say, who are making a short film or something, they say, "Hey man, do you think you can make a severed leg or a severed head or do some makeup on something?" We don't have a big budget, and I said, "Well, always throw me in it, just for like so I can have a laugh at it." And it's kind of my idea when this came, but I knew it was much bigger because we were shooting in my house, and Justin and Rob were directing, so it's suddenly it was like, holy shit. And then the role kind of got a little bit bigger, and yeah, we just ran with it because we were a family and we just had to make it work. And again, Alana and Tim were there with me. So it was sort of like, pretty much holding my hand through it. And like, if I saw them do a scene and I'm with them, so it just became natural. So I think acting is just trying to suspend the disbelief and to be natural, and that's what the best I could try to do as being as a weirdo as I am. But I'm a weirdo normally, so I mean,
like a method actor.
yeah.
I was gonna say,
It's
it's just a natural thing, right? You just like to act up and act fun and have fun, right?
Yeah. It's been
Yeah,
my Sundays hiding bodies and killing people. A regular.
I think the film, like, it kind
Spoiler
of felt
alert.
like it felt like John and I, like this chemistry of like you're getting high for the first time and you hold hands and like jump into water, like the deep end, And then I think both of us felt so grateful to have Tim because he was just this kind of like teacher. He was sort of a mentor there. Like every interaction with him was so generous and like supportive in like moment to moment. So I think for both of us, it was just kind of like, praise the Lord that Tim was there to kind of
Tim
like
was the
guide
rock.
us.
Tim was the
Yeah.
rock that kept it all together. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
for sure. Like,
Thank
yeah.
Absolutely. And Dale was there as my mentor when I was freaking out, and we had where we live
On-set therapist.
Yeah, I'm the on-set therapist. Yeah, exactly.
and masseuse. That was great.
Yeah. Well, the hot tub, I had to take advantage of it, right?
Oh, you got a hot tub there too. Jeez. This church is really packing the amenities.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, good.
this one thing about this movie that I've noticed that is it just has a lot of a couple of different tones. And this I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I actually really like that. I kind of feel like it's kind of like up to the viewer to kind of picture and put it together, and it's more like a mystery that way. And what I love about film and why I love this film so much is because it kind of traipses both of those lines very balanced, and it's really just an odd thing to have that work. And I mean, is that intentional, or were you like just unsure, or is it just kind of happenstance?
No, I think it's very intentional because it's a story about the idea. I mean, there's a lot of themes in this movie, maybe even too many themes, but the film's supposed to be a conversation about horror films and scary content and people that make it, people that consume it, the audience, why they like it, and these themes come up, and it's also a celebration of horror filmmaking, because we just love making horror films. And so it's sort of a celebration of horror filmmaking, specifically genre filmmaking. So you're seeing tones in there you're seeing Sam Raimi like homage, and like Darren Aronofsky homage, and you're seeing like Kubrick homage. It's all very, very intentional. We talked about it at length, because that's sort of what it was. It was like, let's have a lot of fun and just make something that doesn't really follow tropes, traditionally, but really is more of a conversation about them. And you're right about the mystery, because I always said it's kind of like a whodunit, but it's not really, because there is no twist. It's more of like a why done it. Why does he do this? And that was sort of like the essence of the style in terms of tone.
Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, I saw a lot of different camera angles and things in there that were really unique. Well, I mean, maybe not necessarily unique, but they just really worked for the film in particular. It was like, especially with Alana running and like, that was crazy. I love that.
Do you know how many people? There's a bunch of people that reviewed it, and they were always like giving me kudos for being so brave to look so ugly on camera. I was like, damn, that was like a theme. That was like a theme. Which I think is funny because I don't know. That's one thing about horror film. Like, you do not have time to like reapply your lipstick. You're not. I don't know. It seemed like that seems silly to me, like in the genre when you see that.
I was reapplying your lipstick, and I just I had
You
a
were
lot-
behind the like bags under my eyes.
Yeah. I was doing breakdown makeup.
Yeah.
And shout out to Stu Cameron as the DOP of this, and it worked out very well.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
gotta-
like to me, I've always said that when you watch someone in horror films, when people or in real life, when people are really scared, there's something kind of funny about it. And if we put the camera right in there, we just commit to what you would actually, how you would actually react in these certain moments. There is this like twisted sort of sense of humor in those close-ups, that like I always think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
To,
I love that. I love that about that because it's like it's got a little mixture of the both, and that's like really hard to pull off in a lot of ways, and it almost like naturally just came together in this whole like amalgamation of all you guys, so it's just
and with this movie, because it's about a prankster, the movie's kind of it's playing with the audience too a bit, right? It's like you can't really figure it out, and you think it's going to be a story about this character being pranked, but really the filmmakers are kind of like trying to mislead you down the wrong road, and so yeah, it's very intentional.
okay. Now, as far as go ahead, Rob. I'm sorry.
No, that's right. I was just thinking like some of the just listen to everybody what they're saying. Some of the magic of the film, I think, was and like the realism of like Alanda's performance and John T and Tim's was that because we were such a small tight crew, there was no pressure. There's nobody to impress. You know what I mean? Everybody was there doing it to be there doing it. I mean, like Justin and Dale. Like Dale was Justin's teacher. You know what I mean? And they know each other so well. We all know each other so well. And Tim coming in, he was just like an automatic, member of the family. And it was just it felt very like that. The performance Alanda's and doing and Jonathan and Tim, it's very real. It's very natural. And I think that's why it came off so well. It's so entertaining.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Now, as far as directors go, where are you guys like strong at and maybe not so much at the other? Like how did you, share that screen time,
Share the responsibility of directing. Yeah, it's different from project to project for us because we do a lot of co-directing in television, and we co-show run series, and the story and the projects, our dynamic changes. I think on this one, I tend to, because I wrote the script, I tend to be really more into like the actors' performances and kind of working with the actors where Rob will work with the camera department and sort of, help set up other like creative shots and, get the drone shots. And we work really well as a team because it's like, look, we all know what the storyboards and what the plan is. And then we're like a two-headed kind of beast that can attack the plan really efficiently. Because it's like, look, I'm just going to talk to the actors, you talk to the crew, and we'll just like divide it up that way. And that seemed to be the way it went on this movie.
Nice. Okay. Good. So now, as far as the music goes in this film, which I really, really enjoyed, because it kind of seems like it constantly moves and changes with whatever scene's happening at the moment. And who was the choice maker in that? And like, was there any direction in that?
That's like a really good question. The answer is interesting because it's very collaborative. So on this film, our composer Vivian Villani, he composed this with a full orchestra, 18 musicians, I think, or 19. And it was done, we're working with a real live orchestra. So it's just when you're cutting the music together, we're using reference tracks, right? Just using different tracks from different movies and different like sources and trying to figure out like a reference for cues. And then we sit with Vivian, who's in Hollywood, and use the cues as a reference to build an original soundtrack that changes in sound, but the cues are similar in terms of like where the hits are and the dips but all three of us, me, Robin, and Dale, we really all contributed to the sources and the music. And we actually take turns going to LA to work with Vivian because our schedules were so crazy. So sometimes I was there with him, sometimes Dale would go down or Rob, and sometimes we would fly Vivian to Toronto to just live in a little apartment next to our office and work. And it was very collaborative, actually.
Yeah,
and
it's very different than most movies that I see. Like, like they may have like 3 or 4 songs and then it kind of differentiates sometimes there, but this like really feels like it was different, like every scene, like almost.
Maybe that's why actually different people know, but the references were the reference.
You're like, no, this isn't good. Oh no, it's good the next day.
No, but they're finding the tone. Like we definitely wanted the tone. Like there's sometimes there's a lot of music in that movie. And some, you know, we make other projects where there's almost no music, and you know, the power of silence is like the best sound effect. But with this, we really want, it's another part of that celebrating the filmmaking part of it, where it's like, look, let's use an orchestra. Let's let's really make the music a character, and like drive some of these scenes. And it just was really, really fun. And so, yeah, it was very collaborative, and we all definitely contributed to that. And that was a very long process trying to get all that made. But also the thing with the music that's interesting, that I've never even heard of this happening on a film before, is when we first started, I went down to Hollywood and I was actually editing the scenes, and every scene that was edited, I would give it to Vivian, who was sitting beside me, and he would start composing the music. That's so crazy. we were editing and making and composing music at the exact same time, side by side, because we were trying to move very fast, and we were all in the same room, and so that was the first kind of like collection of tracks, and then it just kept evolving, and ended up taking many months.
I got one last question about that music, is that there's a part in the movie where it's like looking at the church from like, you know, like up to give it that kind of menacing sort of like big house feel. And there's music that's playing that I swear to God has reminiscent sound to one of my favorite directors in one of his movies, The Beyond. And it sounds like the piano doom 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 doom. I don't know how to explain it other than that. Is that intentional, or do you even know?
Maybe are you talking when they first arrived at the church, and you see it from the big wide when they first got there? Yeah, I think that was that I believe. I think originally there was a reference we were using from Drag Me to Hell.
Okay.
And we ended up using some of the same people that were involved in that soundtrack, right, Dale? Do I have that right? Yeah, we ended up using some of the same musicians, and it ended up like trickling in.
Yeah, because we had the orchestra, it's a 19-piece orchestra. We recorded in North Hollywood. And we had a combination of musicians that were from Hans Zimmer and John Williams that were in there as part of that orchestra. So that was something really, really unique about the project, and a little bit intimidating as well. But they had worked with us several times, and they all came back and wanted to work with us again on the feature film, because they'd done 2 other soundtracks with us. And, you know, that was fabulous. And, you know, for me as an executive producer, it was so much fun to, like, I ran one of the recording sessions by myself. The 2 guys are like, we're too busy. You go. And I'm like, this is the finale of the movie. I'm making all the decisions for the music for the finale of the movie. Like, I'm like, double track this, you know, do this, a little bit more of this instrument. And I was like, but I had been there. I'd been there for every single recording session for the film and for our short film. So it was just second nature. And working with Vivian was just easy, was so incredibly easy to do. So it was no big deal to, you know, to go there and take over and kind of do that while these guys were shooting whatever they were. I think they were on Restaurants on the Edge or something at the time, or something like that, filming that.
So let me ask you, Dale, then. Wait, we removed on, what is this?
Unlimited minutes. Yeah.
I think we're covered.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, I don't know what that is. Okay. I get out my credit card real quick, you know. So Dale, let me ask you this. Now, when they pitched this idea, of course, to you, I mean, obviously it seems like you guys are family, and you say that very frequently, and that means that you guys are kind of all in on the kill, so to speak, so you kind of know what to expect. But what was the go-ahead for you, Dale? Like, what was the idea that we were like, okay, now's the time for a feature film, and why?
Well, it was interesting because we had the money for the film before we had an idea. So that's what was kind of ironic about it. Yeah,
I got an idea, Dale. I got an idea.
Yeah. We didn't even have the idea. You didn't even have that thing say, "Oh, I have an idea." Like it was.
Shut up, Tim. I've got a better idea.
It was literally. I've known Justin since he was 16 years old. I was his high school film teacher, so I trust his instincts like completely. When we did Latch, the short film, I put all this money into it, and I just said, like, go for it. And the same thing with this film too. Is like the money was there, and I just said, go for it, because I don't like putting restrictions on people. I don't think there should be restrictions on the creative process. So when Justin says, you know, I've got an idea, it's almost like it's my job to say, okay, let's do this, and figure out how are we going to get the money for it, how are we going to do this and that. But I think I trust his gut more than he trusts his own gut in a lot of this sort of thing. So I think just because I've known him for so long, that I can see where he's going with something, and I know that it's going to be great no matter what it is that he does. He was like that in high school. Everything he touched was like amazing. So it's a logical step just for us to kind of do these films together. But there's nothing that actually triggers it other than the fact that it's like, let's put some money together and let's go make some films.
Nice.
Those high school films were terrible, Joe. Come on.
Dale, I saw a couple of those high school
whenever-
bad ones.
Whenever
I still have
whenever Justin
original
calls,
copies.
Couple of weird shower scenes.
Copies of those films, right? Of everything Justin did in high school, I still have the original copies of those
Wow.
films.
Yeah, you keep those.
I want to see these.
We'd like to
Yeah.
also-
Send them to me.
Was it
Send them to me.
Twisted Fate or something?
Twisted Fate.
well, whenever Justo calls me about anything, he's like, "Okay, so I have an idea. What do you think about?" I'm like, "Yes,
Come sit.
Sounds
yeah,
good.
yeah, that was great." He was like, "Let me tell you the idea." Doesn't matter. Well, first of all, I'm on board, but go for it. And then it's like,
we were really lucky, Alex. We had all the creative freedom that we could have ever asked for. We had nobody, like no big studio telling us like, you can't shoot a scene like that, or you can't do this, you can't do that. It was literally like people that just trusted us and gave us their money. And I think that stress on Justin and myself was so intense that we wouldn't have let them down no matter what. But we're allowed to make any decision we wanted on the film.
That's awesome. I was going to ask, I was like, is there one thing that you were like, absolutely not? But I mean, you can tell just by watching the movie that it seems like not only did you guys have fun, but you got to do everything that you set out to do and kind of push your own boundaries individually. Is there a specific thing in the movie that you're most proud of, like all of you? Like as actors, directors, producers, like one thing?
I mean, I'll jump in first. I'm extremely proud to have done this. It was my first feature, so I'm proud that I got to like do a whole character and have a whole arc, and someone or some people trusted me to explore that and have the freedom and to work with it, which doesn't always happen. Sometimes it can be quite difficult. So not only did they have creative freedom, but I think I was allowed to have creative freedom from my end of the deal as well. So yeah, it was extremely beneficial, enjoyable.
That's so crazy to me that everybody just kind of like, it just kind of came together. That's like, it never happens, you know, like I've talked to a lot of directors, I talked to a lot of producers and everything, and it doesn't normally happen like that. So,
and I think I was beneficial for Tim to feel that way too, because then Tim got to create his character because, Rob and Justin allowed him to create his character. Right. So it became more organic, which took out the stuff that Tim was good at. There's a few scenes that whenever I see this movie, Tim just says a couple little things and I laugh my ass off every time because he just let it slip in there. And it's so funny because he got to create the character,
Yeah, that was a bit, actually, that's a good point. The ad-libbing and like when I met with you guys and you were like, look, we're gonna move really fast. Like we're gonna shoot this in like 2 weeks, and you can be really good at like ad libbing. And I was like, I'm the one. I love that stuff. Like I love it. I can roll with it. So I was really happy to have the opportunity.
Well, yeah, because you, Tim, and Jonathan also have like that weird kind of awkwardness in the beginning, and like you're more accepting of it, except for Elena, and which is awesome.
You know what? I should say that like the scene. I think the most proud moment for me would be the dinner scene where the mussels are served, because like Tim, you just reminded me just the improv nature of this, because in the script, that was in the script, he makes mussels and Fritz, and then they have this like conversation at the table. On the day we started filming it, Tim revealed that he's actually in real life allergic to bivalves. And we're like, what do you mean you're allergic? It's in the script. And then so like on the spot, we had to figure out a solution. Like, oh my gosh, he can't actually eat this food. And then so that whole thing about him being allergic, that was improvised. And then that whole scene seemed to like, we changed that scene in the moment and changed the dynamic of that scene and what the scene was supposed to be with the characters. And it wasn't working, then it was, and it took a while. And that's that scene where it's just, you know, 3 people talking over some muscles was the most complicated and the most difficult, and ended up being probably one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie.
You have it right here.
That's the scene. Yeah,
right
John's
here,
there right now.
Oh, there you go. There it is. Tim's on the left.
Yeah, that's right.
It's amazing because this movie, like, we have stunts, we've got props and monsters and prosthetic effects and some complicated effects, but just shooting these 3 people talking at a dinner table was just trying to block 3 people talking, and from a directorial standpoint, it's challenging. And I just really like how that scene turned out.
Nice.
And Jessa went at it a few different ways, and we just kept working it. And I saw Jessa in his brain going, and it carved its own way.
Yeah.
Well, just starting with like, Tim's allergic to bivalves. Like, let's just put that in the story. Let's just do it. And then the other thing is like that little vent in John's bedroom that looks down to the kitchen. That's a real event. Like, we didn't write that in the script. We just got to John's place and like, there's a hole in your ceiling into the bedroom.
That was a really nice addition.
We adapted to the environment quickly.
Yeah, adapted.
We adapted quickly, and it's like, it was a really fun experiment in efficiency and creativity. And if you have a small unit, can you just, surf the waves that are crashing up against your back and figure out a style, under the gun? And so
that's probably
I'm
a
proud
good
of the team
thing
for coming through.
That's probably a good thing for a smaller production in a way, because you have that liberty to be able to do that. Whereas on a big production, it's like, no, we do it exactly as the master says. And he, they may change things on the fly, but it's, it's much nicer.
If Jessa had written a script exactly as it was, but then had to find a church with this all in it, it would have costed a lot more money.
It probably would have
been a real metal detectorist.
Yeah.
They're like, you want to do what in this house? Are we in the church of God? So, I gotta ask, Jonathan, like, how the hell did you get this church? Like, how old is it? Like, I don't want to ask too much, but I really like the house.
Really fucking old, yeah.
It's really fucking old. For Canada, we lived in Toronto looking for a house, and it's from 1880. My wife, around here, her family had a cottage nearby here, so we were coming up here a lot. And it turned where we were just sitting in our studio loft in my Weird Effects place in Toronto, and we just we couldn't afford anything in Toronto, and we're looking and kind of want to live in the country. And my brother and my mom were like, you need to live in the country. And I was like, what the fuck? How am I supposed to do that with my career? And my wife, Bridget, found this church. She showed it to me on her computer. She's like, what about this? And she showed a picture basically of this. And she's like, well, you always wanted a fireplace. And I said, don't fucking show me stuff like that, because we're not moving 2 hours away. And then slowly, and I give it to my mother, who said, like, well, is there any place that you'd move to and you can rent out your studio loft? And I said, there's a church. And I called Bridget and I said, is it still available? She looked it up, and it was within 2 weeks we came and looked at it, and we basically sealed the deal. And then we changed our whole lives and now live out in the country. And thank God I did. I thought, like I've said before, it's a nail in my coffin to my career. But instead, because we moved here, I got to make a movie with these guys, which is the reason why I got in production in the first place, is to work on horror movies.
Right.
Yeah.
And John and I, we just finished our 3rd horror film together a couple weeks ago.
Really? So what's next?
We did.
Can you talk about it?
Well, we did this film Carved. We did this short film Carved that was part of a Hulu Halloween special.
Okay.
And so John was in that. We shot that after making Monsters, but I think it actually was released before Monsters. And then we just finished something recently that we can't really talk about. It's a top secret project, but it's an episode of a series. It's the premiere episode, the pilot of a series that's coming out around Halloween. That's it's a horror series, and we do the first episode, and John's the star of it. But we so you're right, John. Like, you know, we like hope, and hopefully we can keep moving in this space and do more. You know, because it's the most inspiring space to work in.
Well, it seems to work. So I mean, if you got a good thing going, why change it? You know,
so far so good.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: you do special effects, Jonathan. So what do you think? Are you going to continue to do this, or is this like new bug of acting like got you going now?
I basically just keep doing, you know, I'm a camera operator. That's how I started with Justo, and I did special effects because I wanted to work in horror movies. And my friend Alan Cook, who did the spoilers, what am I going to say?
Yeah.
Pitchfork gag.
Okay, but you know,
amazing scene, by the way. Watch the movie if you haven't.
Alan Cook, who's one of the greatest effects artists in Toronto. It's like, I believe,
the best in the world.
Certainly it is. Yes, and you're right. And so I work with him a lot, and he's brought me on big projects. When I started, like, we just were instantly best friends, and we work on a lot of stuff together. And that's been, God, like, I don't know, 18 years or something like that. So I have a shop in here. I've got like half the basement down there where the kill scene is, like, it's all effects, and I've got this shop over here, which is just all makeup effects in there.
Yeah,
it's all severed heads and stuff, and
that's the room we didn't get to see in there, I don't think.
Yeah, it was heated for something else. And yeah, so you know, like the acting thing, it's like, sure, you know, it's I love it. And you know, it's more like if Justo or Rob, like, if they, I'm like, yeah, get me in front of the lens for sure. Like I want it. But, you know, I go back to, like, I run a small art gallery up here, and I sit like, I've never had a desk job, but I run an art gallery. So I sit there and I sculpt, or I punch hair on a puppet for like hours. So it gives me solitude. It gives me something to do. And, you know, I don't know. I mean, I've always got a few fingers in the pot, as they say. Or they don't say that. Anyway,
is that what they say?
Yeah, which one do you mean?
I've got a few fingers in the hole, and that's it. So, anyways, I don't know. I mean,
it may be worse, actually.
Yeah. If Justo says jump, I say how high. That's it.
So now
I like this, like, Tom Servini role that you're carving out for yourself, where you can be behind the camera and makeup and in front of the camera pulling it off. I mean, that's like that. There should be more, you know, creative people doing that sort of thing. It's a different way to approach, especially in the genre.
Yeah. And I think it's fun that way, because people are like, oh, you know, maybe you should get an agent, you should do this. And I'm like, maybe I should just like do what I'm doing and like not, you know.
Yeah, maybe we should just write another movie.
I'm so proud of making monsters. And I'm so proud to work with the faces that you're seeing right now. And I feel so lucky that I did it. And the few other projects that I worked with Justo, and it's like, that's just how it is right now. And that's all I look at it. And, you know, who knows? I don't know.
So I got to ask you guys, I mean, you obviously all seem like you're into horror. So, I mean, is this like a thing that you want to keep doing, or is there like other genres that you're like, well, maybe, you know, like romantic comedy?
Porn.
Yeah. I personally love all genres. Like, you know, as an audience member, I love watching everything. Love documentaries, love comedy, love drama, like love it all. But as a filmmaker, I like the idea of staying in this genre for sure. It's the most creative genre. It does travel throughout the world and different cultures, and it is a certain type of visual storytelling that's unique compared to other genres, because it's really about the visual. And we're obsessed with creature design and fabricating monsters and bringing characters to life that are scary and beautiful. And so for those reasons, I think, I don't know, I want to stay in this genre and just build in this genre as much as possible. And we're starting to lean much heavier into that world.
Nice. I go for you too, Rob, Dale.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the best parts of making films in the genre, like Justin was saying, was bringing like a creature to life. And that's something that actually Justin sort of exposed me to, was this obsession with making actual like monsters and making things that you know are horrific, but for some reason people like care for when they watch, you know, or are sympathetic for when they watch. Very Del Toro style. But hey, I would love to make a Guy Ritchie style film too. I mean, blowing up a bunch of cars and you know, shoot them up kind of deal would be awesome. But this, yeah, this
Tim.
Yeah, there you go. You guys could be like Guy Ritchie. You're like the guy from the trailer park. Yeah, no, this genre is really fun, and to take people on a roller coaster ride from like fear and humor is actually really fun to work on.
Yeah, and for me, my heroes, all my heroes have started in the genre. So Steven Spielberg, you know, and you know, even like Kubrick dabbled in the horror genre. But these you know, James Cameron with Piranha.
Sure.
Peter Jackson, all of his early movies were horror, and like these went on to be the biggest, most profitable, most successful, most talented and creative filmmakers of all time. They all started in that genre, and there's a reason for that. And I don't know, I think like I like that trajectory of like starting off in that genre, doing some stuff, but like, you know, James Wan jumping into Fast and the Furious, or Andy Muschietti now jumping into Flash.
We also did Death Sentence too, which was really amazing. The Kevin Bacon movie that's like a revenge film. It's amazing.
Yeah, you can work in that genre, and then you can dip over into these other action genres and stuff, but then you come back. But I like where we are here. It's, you know, it's the most fun, and you don't need a movie star. You don't need to have Tom Cruise in your movie. You just need a monster that's a Tom Cruise
and an imagination.
And see, I like for me, I mean, I like the horror genre, but I like being in some of the other ones as well. But I think I guess I have a bit of a different approach to it, because I like to find people to work with, and kind of like up and coming talents, no matter what it is that they want to be part of. So I mean, I was executive producer on a short called The Long Way, which was done out in California with Michelle Love Santoro as director. And I also did this. I worked on this sci-fi fantasy with a group of university students from the University of Cincinnati called Analog Rainbow, and the director was 18 years old. And it hasn't come out yet. And I found them on like one of the Indiegogo or something like that. I found them on some sort of crowdsourcing, and just wanted to be part of it. And I actually went there and was part of it. And it's fun to be part of like different filmmaking families and see how different things are done. But in the end, everything I kind of learned from doing all of those different things comes back to, you know, this team here. And the more I can dabble in those other things, I can come back and now apply it better for these guys. And you were talking about, you're talking about proud moments and stuff, and like of the film and stuff. I think for me, my proudest moment came actually at our first festival that we were at Shriekfest in LA, and we were sitting in the audience. They were announcing the awards, and we won for best feature film. It's like, here we have a Hollywood premiere, and you know, Rob was there, and Tim was there, Jonathan was there. Justin and Atlanta couldn't make it, but I remember going up on stage. I remember being up on stage with Rob, and it was just one of those moments where it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we did this. I cannot believe we had a Hollywood premiere for our first feature film, independent, with no studio, no one telling us what to do. It was just a bunch of people that made this film, and look where it's gone. I mean, it's got distribution, you know, it's on Amazon, it's on Apple, it's in the US and in Canada. It's, you know, so for me, the proud moments come frequently. They're not just one part of this film. There's all sorts of parts of this film that have been very proud. And I remember that night after Shriekfest, going out with Jonathan and Rob, and Tim came out for a while, and we had the trophy sitting there on the table in the restaurant. We're in the what was that place in Hollywood we were in? I don't know.
Shut down now. Cafe.
Yeah, and I remember seeing that trophy sitting there, and it was like, oh my gosh! It was just one of those moments where you just kind of wanted to take it all in. And I walked back to my hotel that night and was like, oh my God, I can't believe we did this. I sat down and just reflected on it. I actually made a little video on my phone so I can remember this for the rest of my life. About what happened, and
show us the video, Dale. Show us the video.
I had to pretend I wasn't in the room.
He's all going.
I'm like,
Yeah. But it was so much fun. It was so much fun to be there with everybody and to experience all this and all the festival tours that we've all been doing together. That's what makes it so much fun for me, and seeing, all of these people being successful and knowing that, you play your small little part in all of this in everybody's, everybody's success. I have my own little moments with everyone, with Tim and with Jonathan, with Rob and Alana and Justin. Like, they're all, it is truly this little family that we put together, and it is so much fun to be part of it.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's like all the cylinders. Like, it's like I watch a movie sometimes, and like whether it's horror or not, and if I stand up and I'm just like I don't know what it is, but I just get this vibe about me, and that's what I felt when I watched this movie, and I was just like, I was like, this is so good, and no one is gonna feel the way I do right now, or do they? So I had to hit up you guys, or put it up on line, and then Dale hit me up. So I'm really glad that you guys made the movie. So I'm hoping that there's a Blu-ray release, or whatever.
Yeah, Dale. I hope there's a Blu-ray release.
Well,
Yeah,
as I mentioned
patter.
before we started,
baby.
I said we are going to have the soundtrack release.
Yeah.
So we're going to have the soundtrack release, hopefully on some of the streaming services, and we'll get a vinyl done of that. So I'm working with Vivian right now on trying
I'm working
to get that.
with Vivian. I get to choose the
order.
Yes,
We're not
sir.
going chronological of the film.
Yes,
so,
sir. Don't worry, I already took the
Edith.
But yeah, it's so we've got all sorts of things. So yeah, it's on the list. It's on the list of things to still take care of. So like I said before,
it's
I'm
up there on
from
my
the beginning.
list,
I'm
man.
still there.
So
Yeah, well, I'm still doing stuff to this day on this film. So
nice.
yeah, still working on it.
All right. Well, now I gotta ask Alana. I keep saying your name wrong. I think it's because I said it wrong the first time, so now I'm retraining my brain. Elena.
You should think like banana. Banana.
Alana. Okay, yeah, that'll actually work. It's like it always reminds me of that scene in Half Baked or whatever, when he's like, "Oh, black ass" or whatever. I have to remember. I have to remember something that way. So banana was perfect. Alana. Now we're back. Okay. So I noticed that, like, in the beginning of the film, because like the second time I watched it, I was like really like hyper focused on all the little details. This time, the first time is it's just the ride. But I noticed that you were doing some dancing in the beginning of the movie, and I was wondering. I mean, it seemed pretty legit to me. So, are you a professional dancer? Have you danced like?
Yeah, I dance with the Toronto Dance Theater.
Okay.
I have for like 15 years.
Wow.
And so in Latched, like I also am a dancer and choreographer, like in that work. And then again in this in Making Monsters, it was kind of, I mean, I think dance and horror to me like link up really nicely because both are such like a visceral experience.
Sure.
So it's kind of that you can just really put it in the body in a nice way.
Well, because you have to express yourself through your dance to an emotion, so it's kind of the same way.
Yeah, exactly. And like what can be like held in different places, and how like contention in the body like read something when you're not doing something with a script, like even facially, like I don't know. I like that aspect of horror for sure. It'd be fun to do it in like action too, or like be one of the creatures. Like the creature in the film, Jared Sedal, he is also a dancer. He dances. He used to dance at the Toronto Dance Theater, and now he's like gone into more creature work.
Well, yeah, now he's becoming a full-time creature performer.
Of course,
Really?
I mean,
He's in The Boys
Right.
now.
And he was a vital part of the whole production too. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, and he's incredible. And like, I think, for him also, it's the same thing. It's like what isn't verbal, right? Like what is in the body, and like how you can sort of like express.
And that's important when you're running naked through a field being chased by an ATV.
Yeah.
Covered in blood.
Or in the snow.
yeah, I had to look at his asshole the whole time, but
But really, that's the thing. Like I was saying earlier, like, oh, like Tim was the only like actor. The truth is, like, Alana's been performing with the Toronto Dance Theater her entire adult life. Alana is a professional performer in interpretive dance. The shows that they put on and what their body goes through and what they go through, like mentally, it's amazing what they can do. And so, you know, it's incredible. Like you guys, you are a real actor. You've been acting on stage. You've been performing on stage your whole entire life. So that's why when it comes to these movies, I really always think like, gosh, we could do anything. Like some of the dance shows I've seen, you've been pushed to limits that, you know, are further than film because it's more underground, more artistic. It's more like experimental and you guys have to work out ideas. So when it comes to these films, I have more confidence working with a dancer than most actors.
Really?
You know, because it's like, oh my gosh, there's a different like attitude to like, I don't know, creating these weird moments. That's just
they'll complain less.
Yeah.
Because
they're used to working for life.
It's like a certain like brutality, you know.
And Jarrett had to be in full prosthetic makeup for like, you know,
like 9 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was helping like build props. He was helping me mix blood. We were doing. It was a full family affair in the sense of running this back and forth, staying up super late, figuring out how we're going to run this and this and this. And Jarrett was like, I mean, a producer.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
Tim too. I mean,
his
Tim
expressions
out,
are
like,
awesome.
Tim was running out coffee and sandwiches, like in the scenes that he wasn't in. He was like delivering the goods for everybody, and
I felt so guilty. I was sitting by a warm fire and everyone was freezing their asses off. I just thought it was guilt. I'm not Catholic. It was definitely
we're out in the cold field. He shows up on an ATV with tin foil and all these pre-made sandwiches. And like, wow,
snacks.
This is really fucking good. Like, did they send you out here? He's like, no, I made it on your toaster. So it's like, you know,
I was missing out.
I remember going, I love him so much. And every time he's brought up with my wife Bridget, I go, I love him so much.
Yeah.
We were so lucky. So lucky.
Thanks, yeah. Thanks.
That's something I was going to ask you
guys
too.
It was selfish. I just missed everyone, and I was like, I need to get out there. I got to have an excuse to get up there.
I don't like to be alone. Yeah. You guys were outside in like the winter too, like well, beginning or end of it at least, because there was that one scene where you're outside and you wrap her up. I mean, did that take a lot of takes? And like, how was that? Because that's
the whole like that opening scene that Jarrett was running through the field. That was actually supposed to be done on snowmobiles. We were actually that was supposed to be a naked man running through a field full of snow, and we had warming tents. We had all this like logistics, like so we wouldn't kill him on the very first day. And it turned out that the snow just all went away like a couple of days before, and we pivoted to ATVs, and it was still cold, but the whole movie was a constant like. We had this like board with like cutouts of all the scenes, and we would just every night after we shot, we would just for like hours and hours and hours just obsess over like, okay, we didn't get those scenes because we didn't have snow, so let's move this here because there might be snow on Thursday, so we're just constantly moving these scenes around, making sure we got it. And that was actually like we woke up one morning, it was just like snowing. So like we have to shoot all the snow scenes right now, everything in the snow.
Yeah.
So it was very much like letting the environment dictate the schedule sort of. And I think we got really lucky because that scene with Alana outside is one of my favorites. That whole part where Tim runs out to grab her and then they're staring at each other and he's trying to figure out what the hell happened to her. It's definitely,
crazy. Rob, you were like a little rattled by that. I remember you being like, are you actually okay? Like,
yeah, that shit fucked up. Yeah, that messed me up. I'm a protective person, and to see Alana like she was so messed up in that scene. Like I had to sidebar, like, "Are you okay?" She's like, "Oh yeah, I'm totally fine."
every time I see that, I'm rattled because I'm like, they didn't shut the door. The cats are gonna get the fuck out. Every time I see it, I'm like, dude, you didn't shut the door, and fucking Maceo is not gonna get it.
It's a valid point.
Yeah, some of your like it was pretty believable just you staring. I think one of my favorite parts was like, just get me the fuck out of this place. Like, and I was like, she's had enough, guys. Like, she has had enough.
That was an ongoing joke for so long. Like people would just yell like, randomly.
My girlfriend loved that scene. She was cracking up when she saw it. She was like, oh, this is funny. I was like, yeah, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to laugh because it's pretty tragic what's happening right now. They just woke up 5 days later.
I think you're supposed to laugh.
I think you're supposed to laugh. It's
yeah.
Listen, that ghost screaming in her face this close, her hair blowing back, like it's a little over the top. Like it's quite a bit over the top, and it's supposed to be.
Maybe this would be the perfect segue to get into the spoilers part, so that for those of you who are awesome individuals that have watched the movie and rented the movie, this is for you.
Or have watched this long into our interview.
Yeah, exactly. They're probably drunk already, so they might be out.
Yeah. It's like me.
So yeah, we'll get into. I want to ask about that because one of the things that I suggested this to my friends all over the place. I like literally after I was done watching the movie, I have like a few like 5 or 6 people that I'm like, like you need to check this out immediately. Like, and they're like, okay, all right. And then half of them came back and were like, I fucking loved it, and the other half were like, I don't get it. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't get it? Like, I don't understand. So the ghost thing seems to be the one thing. And I'm like, they said it in the beginning. They said it at the dinner table. I was like, so that's the connection.
Thank you. It's so clear. It's so clear. I think they were like on TikTok while the film was playing because they weren't paying attention.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably what it is, right? Because we're addicted to the damn things. But
that's why I'm watching movies these days.
But yeah, I mean, you didn't. One thing I really appreciated is that instead of just going, hey, like, and I said it in my review, I'm like, instead of them going, hey, this is what it is, they just kind of go with it, which is kind of the magic of the movie. Instead of having to do that, you just kind of let people experience for what it is.
Yes. Yes. And we had like done some test screenings, and that was sort of the general vibe. There was a split. It was 50-50. Half the people got it, half the people didn't. And it was suggested, you should go back and create like a flashback or create more clarity there. And I was like, okay. And then Rob and I went back and looked at it, and I was like, wait a minute. It's so clear. Like, it's in the opening credits, and then it's mentioned at the table. And then like, how is it not? And then I was like, I'm sorry, but it's pretty clear. Like, I just feel like, I feel like we could have gone that route and made it very obvious, but we chose not to. And for better or worse, we just made that decision,
I think Justin too. I don't like expository scenes where you're like explaining shit and the reasoning. And I mean, I think we just both decided like, let's just let it be. Like, it is what it is, and people can figure it out. And if they don't, they can watch it again, figure it out again. We're totally fine with that. But I don't like those kind of scenes where everything's being explained and force fed to you.
It's supposed to visually show you, like, this ghost is a burn victim. He's covered in burns. We show the guy getting dragged out, burned. We see her come down, and she says his name over and over again. We show the pictures of them multiple times. Yeah, the pieces are all there. And so the idea was let's just reward the attentive viewers.
Right.
And that's like a thing that you hear, and it's like, oh, well, we should do that here because all the clues are there. And you know what? I don't know. Some of my favorite movies didn't explain anything, like 12 Monkeys, where you're like, what the hell? It doesn't matter. Like, interpret it, And that's
like who tells David Cronenberg to go, like, what does that mean?
Well,
it makes it scary.
I don't know.
To like not have the puzzle totally put together, like the loophole, or not the loopholes, but like the little bit of space when you're watching something can be the creepiest part of something, or the things that like linger,
Well, because I was kind of creeped out by the makeup effects alone were creepy, but just like some of this just standing in the background, that's creepier to me than booga booga booga, like.
Yeah.
I love that.
There's a lot of discussion that like on the time, because like as we're shooting in chronological order, so it was like I remember Justin and Rob were like, this might be confusing for a viewer. It's like, do we spoon feed the audience, or is it going to be, if somebody doesn't understand it or cares enough to rewatch it, everything makes sense in it, right? So
Right.
you look at it, and you know, I'm an idiot. So if I watched the movie the first time, I'd be like, "What was that?" But if you watch it, and some people just get it right away, then that's kind of what I think that Justin, Rob, and Dale were going for.
I was curious about, yeah.
It's a film.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
And when we were screening at festivals, we did the festival tour, and you talk to a lot of people. It's funny because the reaction is always kind of the same. It's like, okay, so the ghost thing was the guy at the beginning of his arm cut off, right? They're like, not sure. I'm like, yeah, you got it. Like that's yes. I mean, his arm is cut off, and then that ghost has no arm.
But that's not to some people who
you're correct.
Love the movie anyways.
Yeah,
It's, listen, that's one of the downfalls of being a low budget production. I guess we could have made the cut off arm a little clearer for people, but like in my mind, it's like if you look at the ghost, when she sees the ghost right before it runs up, his arm's cut off. There's details in there. It's there.
That's I think that I'm a very attentive when it comes to movies, especially when they have a vibe of any sort, like especially or two different tones like yours. I'm like very like, what is going on here? What am I supposed to feel? And why is this happening? So I pay even more attention. So there was another thing in the movie that I wanted to ask about. And you guys do like, you have this party scene, which is always like the make it or break it of a movie, in my opinion, honestly. Like if the party scene doesn't seem believable, it's kind of like, they tried, but this one seemed believable. And I almost kind of have to ask, like, was there drinks involved or anything?
Yeah.
Okay.
My house. We shot it.
I was going to say, yeah.
On that couch. And I drank a bottle of booze with Tim and Elena.
Yeah, there was booze involved for sure. And the way that scene worked is it was after a long day, and most of the crew actually went to bed, and there was a core team that stayed awake, and Rob actually shot a lot of the party stuff where they're actually like tripping out and having fun. Like Rob's behind the camera, and there was only like a splinter unit that stayed awake to kind of like see that scene through, because we wanted to be more intimate and be authentic, and so you are seeing a real party.
Uh-oh.
That was a real freestyle.
Was it? Yeah. That's what I was going to ask next. Yeah, I was like, Alana, did you do the freestyle there?
Oh yeah.
That's funny.
It's like a little bit of a hobby of mine, and Justin was like, okay, so in about 5 minutes, like you just got to like come up with something, and like
in the script it just says like Alana busts an amazingly impressive freestyle rap.
No pressure.
It wasn't scripted. It was just like and then I'm like, oh yeah, she
was so good.
Oh,
Alana,
good.
I think John gave me like a quick shot like before, and I just kind of like came up with it. You guys give me a couple minutes, and I was like looking around. I'm like, okay, it's fucking weird in here. Okay, like what can I talk about? Okay, like there's a leash. There was this leash. I think that's how I came up with like walk your doggy, like or whatever I said.
We had all the
one take. She did one take, totally improvised, not scripted. Yeah,
people ask about that. I love that moment. That's like a proud moment.
That's one of my favorite things in the movie, is because the camaraderie there is so genuine that not only does it impact the sort of hook or the twist, I guess you would call it, with Jonathan. It's like, oh, I really like these guys, like if you had any doubts about the douchebag YouTuber guy, he's cool now. And if you had any doubts about the weird guy at the dinner table, like he's cool now. Like, I don't know.
And I could have Tim and go,
oh, the kiss on the cheek. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Who wouldn't?
So this now I gotta ask this, because you guys did the tea in the movie, and it seemed kind of like it tasted bad, like genuinely. Like, what did you put in there? Because like even Jonathan was like, ugh. Like he just like,
I don't know.
You don't know? Oh, okay. All right. Trade secret. All right.
Whatever. I did what I had to do.
No, that
I gave some to Dale. That was fun. I don't remember though. Cool.
No, it was actually like a nice tea.
It was a nice tea.
No, that was just really good acting.
Like Arizona.
It was like a Rubios or something. Rooibos. How do you say that?
Rooibos. Yeah.
Very authentic.
It was just like a nice, like, we were just like, where's the alcohol?
That's right.
at that point.
No, seriously though, quite genuine. I drugged the shit out of the entire crew. We're fine.
And that's how magic's made, everyone.
I'm the only one that has the footage of that.
And
I'll send it to you.
And I've never seen so many bills and requests for alcohol on a film in my life. Like it was like there was constantly people going to the store to buy alcohol. And I'm like, whiskey. What is going on here? Like, these bills coming in with alcohol. Like, and I'm like, okay, well, whatever it takes, I guess.
Hey, it worked.
We needed more whiskey.
So what was what was the choice? What was the crew choice?
Oh, there was so many things. There was so much stuff. Yeah.
Whiskey and beer.
Lots of whiskey.
It was like whiskey and some wine.
Wine.
Yeah.
Wine and whiskey. Okay, that's not a good. You should never mix those two.
Clearly, you wake up 5 days later.
This is that warning sign we were talking about. Yeah.
No, that party scene was based on a lot of truths. Like we have a little cabin little cottage where we party, and we have a wall of hats. Everybody wears these hats, these like fluffy hats. So like they're wearing all these silly hats. It's just true to like our actual real life. And then in the scene, they're playing this game with the Polaroid camera. That's actually a game that we created for Polaroid that we pitched them. That's like this awesome, fun party game that involves drinking and taking funny pictures. And so that was like, they're actually playing something that we created, as part of our company. And so there's lots of truths in that scene.
Okay.
Nothing is random. Nothing's random.
It's probably why it worked.
Yeah.
Like, all the right elements are there. Let's see. I don't want to keep you guys too much longer, but it's been fun. So there was a scene where the reveal is in the basement, and you got the real David, and you got the boyfriend who was the ghost. Or no, wait, he was David.
Yeah.
I got that mixed up.
The
there.
real David is the ghost. Yeah.
Yeah. And sorry, spoiler alert. God, I hope you guys aren't listening because you just ruined the movie for yourself.
I think Sam Goldwyn already did that on their site. But
yeah, they did that on their YouTube.
Did they really?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Whatever.
You got to change that pretty quick, though.
It's like the first question. It was like, hey, so anyway, about the ghost being David.
Yeah, it was like, here's a synopsis of the movie that gives away every single spoiler of the whole entire thing.
So was that part of the plan, is to do it under the house at that point in time, or is there going to be like some off location or something like that with the dark web and them finding that all out?
Sorry, what's the question? Like,
well, just that it was under the church, I would assume, right? I mean, that's where technically it was shot.
Yeah,
literally.
It's all actually under there.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So the idea is that he set up this like kind of like little rogue studio in the basement running off the generator. He's in the house the whole time. So during the whole story that's happening in the basement, that the owner of the church is chained up down there.
Okay.
And they're trying. That's why she in her dreams is being drawn to that basement, being lured down and sucked down by that spirit. It's all about that basement. She's sucked there in her dream, then dragged
there, yeah,
physically dragged down because it's about trying to save the life of the the owner of the church who's still alive.
Right.
And it's all happening right underneath where they're where that church. Yeah, it takes place right underneath the house.
Oh, he's gonna go there.
He's about to take us.
He's gonna take us on
this
a tour.
Is like, this is a great interview. Look, we got like on scene, behind the scenes.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
On this set.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, see, that's where the hand comes around.
Right.
The monster.
Well, that's where Alana is like floating at the steps. Like,
Yeah.
Which I love that scene too, because it's like, what in the hell is happening right now? Nice.
Scary.
Yeah, is she dreaming? Is she tripping out on drugs? Is she actually being manipulated by this thing? Is there a combination of all
it's
three?
all my camera gear and
Bodies.
my weirdo
That's where
effects.
Tim was shot.
That's where Tim was shot.
Shot and stabbed.
Tragic, by the way. Jeez.
And it's just my weird effect shop now.
Nice.
Oh yeah, that's
the kill room right there.
That is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all my camera gear that I'm sorting out. Anyways,
Where Tim gets the crowbar to the head.
right there.
Yeah.
I swear, when
Yeah.
I saw that scene of Jonathan looking through the scope, and they were on the street discussing about the pills and going back and getting it, I was like, "Ooh, shoot him!" Shoot him. I just because I'd never seen that in a movie, I was like, "Oh my god, what if they do?" Like that would blow my mind right now.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
because I loved your performance, obviously, but
Well, yeah, and that character's unpredictable because you saw at the beginning he's shooting the guy, and so yeah, he could have, but
yeah, where's the
decided to
mask,
continue-
Jonathan?
yeah.
He was supposed to wear it when he came out.
Oh, yeah, where's your mask? Yeah. So John made that mask on his own.
Oh.
Oh, there we go. There's the friendly fella. The jovial killer.
Hi, Betty.
That's a great mask. I loved the mask for the movie.
Yeah, so John made that based on we had some references. I really wanted to make a serial killer or a slasher that kind of looked and felt a little bit like Jesus.
And also maybe even kind of mimic Tim's hair in a way, because I was thinking about that.
Well,
I was
that's like a
Yeah.
happy accident.
And a little bit my hair also.
Right,
like
yeah,
that.
it
Like,
could have
some
been
people
either.
Are like, oh yeah, yeah.
Right, because it could be you as the killer. Right, that's a pure happy accident. Like
Yeah.
Tim having long hair, like that's so great because yeah, you're right. It could the killer could have been.
I really
It's
thought,
just-
I was like, maybe Tim's a part of it somehow. And like,
Right.
I don't know. Like,
Sure.
he's got another partner. It's like Scream or something, you know? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
almost
so
Tim's hair.
the inspiration for the mask design came from an actual real mask. Alexander Purdon, is that his name, John?
Eden
Peden.
from 1562, I think.
wow.
And he actually had like some sort of deformity and made a mask that was made out of like actual like skin and stuff, and it looked just like this, a very very close. So that we used this like Alexander Purdon reference as the reference for the design because it was just I've never seen a slasher character with that sort of feel. I mean, it's a really unique look. Scary.
Oh, yeah.
Terrifying.
Now, this will be the last question I'll ask you guys, and I kind of briefly talked about this with Dale a little bit because I was like, man, this is so much fun. I was like, should you do a sequel or should you do a? And he was like, well, we've been talking about maybe a prequel or something like that. So you guys want to discuss about that and your thoughts about that?
I have some thoughts. I feel like we should do the same a movie in the same style where it's really a small team, you know, really small group of us, like the same core team, and we do it the same style where it's like really small and really fun. And we do like an origin story that is not a whodunit or a whodunit. It's a vicious slasher film with this producer killer. What's that, John?
A coming of ages type thing. That's what you mean.
Yeah. Yeah, we do
Sorry.
something that's a little bit more of a traditional slasher. This film, Making Monsters, is like a commentary on the genre. It's like something different. Like if we did a true slasher with this character and went brutal with him, did it with the same family, what would that turn out to be? I think it'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah. Have like little moments in between where he's like talking to the camera himself and just kind of have like, you know, what it's like to be a killer and like the problems with it or the money issues or like they didn't pay me this day, you know, the Bitcoin didn't go through.
Yeah.
Like,
the idea
myself all the time sucks. What is
like
hard
the idea
to
that this like killer, the idea that the killer is a producer who lures people in and makes his own films and does it with like some creative editing and graphics and like I still think like this character is unique and like it would be an interesting experiment to try another one that is like just like that opening scene for 2 hours.
Right.
You know,
Brutal.
well,
Yeah.
like really action packed.
Now, would you add some of that comedy in there? Do you guys think, or?
Oh yeah, probably ramp that up quite a bit actually.
Okay, I was gonna say, like, I feel like it would almost need it. Like, it just like kind of warrants it.
kind of have to?
But it would I think we would do it really small and kind of under the radar, and then just launch them into the festival circuit and see what the audiences think.
And then,
You
of
know,
course,
not go to our agents and managers, not go to people, not go to Hollywood people. Actually, just do it and throw it into the festivals and come under the radar and see what happens.
There's got to be like, I feel like, and this is me just saying, but like, it would obviously follow Jonathan, then it would end where the first movie sort of began. You know, because like he's sitting in the fucking room, and he would just be like, and how he would get there and why he targeted that guy, because somebody was like, oh, this guy's really good. He was like, oh, I could beat him. You know, like, or I could do better.
Oh, like connected in that way. That's an interesting idea. I like
Yeah.
that. Because we got the church, right, John?
Right.
Yeah, a couple of bucks, put more budget into the whiskey and beer.
There you go.
Dale's
Dale's
down.
just 3 times the
You
amount
got it.
this time, Dale.
We've got it. Until the
I think alcohol was about 1.5% of the budget. I think is what it was. Ended up being something like that. So yeah.
We're still paying LCBO back that financing.
Oh yeah.
Big investors.
The
Yeah,
trick
liquor
is
store,
to get
right?
is someone to sponsor it. You know what I mean? That's the
Yeah, Dale,
That's
get on it.
Yeah, TikTok.
get Jägermeister in on it. You know, something.
TikTok.
No, I think we do it really small, really guerrilla style, even more so than making monsters. Really small and just really creative.
I'm all for it, man. Like I have some friends, like I said, half of them are like all about it. Maybe the other ones will come around one day when they watch it again, you know, without their, you know, TikToks and things, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Listen, this movie was a big swing creatively. We knew that, you know, and you don't get a chance to take big swings in this industry, especially if you're dealing with like traditional Hollywood money, and you don't get to do it. We knew it was a swing, and we know that, you know, 50% of the audience is going to get it, and the other 50 won't. And we just kind of like decided to live or die by that decision to go with our gut. And that's what makes the movie a unique experience. It is a unique horror film for those reasons.
Well, and thank you all for being a part of it and making it. I really enjoyed it. Like it felt like it was a movie made for me. Like I know that sounds so crazy, but it really does.
We did make it for you.
I appreciate. Thank you. So just so all of you watching know.
Hey, hail to the king,
Oh,
baby.
wait, here, I'll do one with you.
He does a horror
Okay.
shots. Hail
Cheers.
to the king, baby.
Cheers, everybody.
Yeah, baby. Let's do that. Hail to the king, baby.
Yeah, Alex, for you to take the time to make a video about this film and to
Yeah.
talk about it and share it, like for a little indie film like this, it really does make a difference for a project like this and for our team. So like, we really appreciate you taking the time to do it and to take the time to meet us here and do this.
Oh my gosh,
It really helps.
I was so excited about your review. I like videotaped it like on the
It was so
iPad. I'm
great.
like, oh, I'm playing this on repeat. Like,
Yeah, I meant
I already
everything I
watched it.
said. Like I won't say anything if I don't, you know, but thank you guys so much for taking the time out and all of you sitting down with me today. I hope I addressed some questions that everybody's like been yearning to ask, and I hope that you guys go see the movie. If you haven't already, it's out for rent pretty much everywhere in every place, Dale. Like, can they get it everywhere?
Yeah,
Yeah, wherever you can
US,
rent.
Amazon, Apple, like it's in the US. It's actually on YouTube as well. Same thing in Canada. It's on all the digital platforms there, and it'll be international very soon as well.
Okay, that's a big one because I have some UK people that were asking about it. They're like, "Where do I find this?" And I was like, "Well, digital." So hopefully, so there's your cue, guys. If you see the end, but I'll put it in the notes so that they know. But thank you guys so much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the weekend. I guess it is now. So, and I hope to see another film.
We'll have more
Thank
for you
you.
very soon, Alex. Thanks again.
thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thanks, Alex.
Take care,
Great to
guys.
see everybody. Love you all.
Bye, guys.
Much love.
Yeah.